Thank you so much for joining us here today. My name is Andre Doyle. I'm the head football coach here at Reading High School in Reading, Pennsylvania. Today, I am sitting amongst a great panel to talk about the philosophies of the Reading High football program and ultimately what we're doing to try to instill a culture of greatness within our student athletes. Today, we are privileged to have amongst us Bruce Badgley, Wayde Marsico, Coach Troy Godinet, and last but not least, Coach Sean Gaul. We're going to start off with Bruce. If you can kind of introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do and ultimately why you're here.
Well, why I'm here is to learn more about, what you coaches do and, philosophically, how you're trying to motivate, these student athletes that I see, every Friday night. I've been covering high school sports here in Pennsylvania for about 10 years. I've got to do really every state championship game I've been on the field for since we went to 6 classifications. So I've seen a lot of these teams, a lot of these coaches, and I'm really interested to hear, what goes on behind the scenes a bit more with you coaches in how you're motivating these kids. I've also got a new phone app called Small Player Big Play that is all about safe social media for kids, as well as fundraising streaming so that organizations can, raise money in this, COVID environment and lack of fans to develop new revenue streams. So we'll turn it over to Wayde.
Yeah, my name is Wayde Marsico, and I'm part of Sports Recruiters, which we've run camps and combines for 10, 12 years. And also in 2010, we founded the Mr. PA Football Awards program. So I'm like Bruce. I want to see what's kind of going on behind the scenes and what the new philosophies and the new strategies are with the high school coaching scene. And I've been involved, like I said, with camp and combines for a long time, and Coach Andre Doyle here was involved with our 7-on-7 program in the spring of 2019 in the summer. So I'm interested to see how they do things a little differently than what I did with the 7-on-7 circuit, and I guess we can start here. Start some questions and see what your guys' answers are.
Awesome. And then Coach Sean Gaul.
What do you want me to talk about?
Just introduce yourself.
Introduce yourself.
My name's Sean Gaul. I'm the run game coordinator here at Reading High School.
My name's Troy Godinet. I'm the defensive coordinator here at Reading High School, linebackers coach, graduate of 2004, senior captain of the 2003 team. We call it the Dream Team. But I'm just proud to be back at Reading High and be a part of this program.
All right, I guess we could start out, and I'll ask the first question. So, what are the core values of the Reading High School football program, Coach?
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up about our core values because when we initially came to Reading High, it was virtually just myself and Coach Troy at the time, and we had to sit down because I didn't know Troy from a can of paint at that point, and we had to sit down and we had to hash it out and we had to understand our values, our core ideologies, and kind of build from that. And from there, we came out with our mantra, which at the time was max effort, because we believe in max effort pays off. And so everything that we did and everything that we accomplished was all about solidifying our best effort at all times. Now, over the past 2.5 years, this would have been our 3rd year. Obviously, we have become extremely close at this time, and we've brought in more coaches such as Coach Sean, and they've given us different perspectives for us to think about and learn about, and we've continued to keep our core value that that max effort pays off, but now it has transcended into much more, and it's really about our acronym that we really stamp on everything that we do, and that's family. Forget about me, I love you. And that's really the heart and soul of who we are. So our core values are really rooted in, we have to be there for one another in order for us to uplift ourselves.
Do you, related to that family, I mean, is that something that you're, you give out awards, or you wear the T-shirts, or is it on your boards, or how you, communicating that, down to not only the players, but obviously your supporters as well, because it's the supporters, like the Gritters Club and whatever like that help you guys out too.
Absolutely. I'm thankful that you brought up the Gritters Club, because without a support system led by Alex Brown, who is also a principal within the school district, we wouldn't have some of the things that we do that some people just take for granted. We know how hard we fought for each and everything that we've done, from the players, student athletes, managers, coaching staff, all along. So that max effort and that forget about me, I love you has transcended throughout the program, throughout the administration, because we've gotten great help from them as well along the way. And so I'm so fortunate to be in the place that we are with the support system that we have. Now, going back to talking about the mantra of the family, how do we get that? Well, we're talking about COVID times right now, right? Where, our school district, voted for us not to be in person with our student athletes. And so we have to do things, through social media, Zoom, et cetera. But, we have to brand ourselves, no different than any other organization, operation, or business. And so everything that we put down, every single message that we send out is put with a hashtag family, hashtag max effort, and finally, when we believe that we are family first, and we believe forget about me, I love you, and we believe that we're going to put out our max effort because it will pay off. Okay, Coach Troy and our defensive line coach came up with our ultimate goal, and that's hashtag night blooded. Right, because if we do all those things, we understand that being a part of something is far greater than yourself, and it lasts forever. And when that is accomplished, and they go through their 4 years of junior high and varsity play, they become crowned or deemed night blooded, and that is something that really resonates, one, with our kids. But two, it really sets the tone of what we're trying to accomplish internally, and what we're trying to do for our community. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. I think that especially when we talk about being night-blooded, there's a stereotype about Reading High, and we feel it, and we know it. But when you put on a jersey, a Reading High jersey, and you graduate, it's a brotherhood for life. In 2010, my brother passed away, and the individuals that were at the funeral and that came to pick me up and were called me on a regular basis were those players from 2003 team. And they stuck by me, by my side, and it's just something that we just carry in our everyday lives. And being proud and being strong and being able to say I'm night-blooded really truly means something, because when you put on a Reading High football jersey, it truly means more than just playing football.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely agree with our family, or forget about me, I love you. This is one of the reasons why I came back home. I also am a graduate of Reading High School back in 2002. I spent some time down at Boyertown coaching. Also spent some time out at Fleetwood coaching. But coaching at Reading High, it's a different feeling. It's a whole new ball game here, dealing with the kids, and I mean, everybody makes you feel so welcomed and stuff like that. I mean, I'm excited. I'm excited to move forward here. I'm excited to be back home, where I got my start from, and get ready to get these kids going.
All right, right, so the core values are the foundation of a program. So what are your anchoring principles?
Yeah, so it's funny. So every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we have Zoom meetings with our players, and we break them down from team meetings on one day. We'll get on, talk about our recruitment series in a different episode, and we have our one-on-one meetings on Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays with the kids, based upon our schedules. But I would say maybe a month ago, during our team meeting, prior to our team meeting, I was talking to one of my my cousins, and we started talking about Doc Rivers, who is now with the Philadelphia 76ers, and he was talking about, and I brought him up because he's like a whiz kid when it comes to facts and numbers and knowing the behind the scenes of every single organization, probably over the last 40 years. And he brought up to me, he said, hey, did you ever study or look at what Doc was able to do with the Celtics the year that they won the championship? And I said, I never really looked at it. They won. And he said, well, it wasn't just about them winning. It was about how they won and how they bought into the system. And I think that this is something that comes from a philosophical perspective, that some people and some coaches and some teachers, some organizations believe that the student athletes should buy into the coach. But that's not the case. The students have to buy into the students. And when they buy into one another, they are willing to run through a wall for each other, and therefore they will listen to what the guidance of the coaches that are on that staff. And as the coaches and the overseers of the program, it's our duty to make sure that we put an operation in place so that they believe and want to build amongst themselves. And so I brought up Doc Rivers because he back in, what was it, 2008?
2008 when they
Yeah,
won the title.
2008. He had recently come to the Celtics. He had made some trades, got some people there. Kevin Garnett, etc. But they were a team of a bunch of individuals. He had to bring them together, and so he was on a panel, and one of the chair people on this panel said, I really want you to look up what Ubuntu really means. And he said, Ubuntu, what is this? I don't even know how to pronounce the word, let alone, talk about the principle. They said, just look it up. And he found, that it was, an African descent word that meant, I am because you are. I am because you are. And when you think about that, and he started to study it, and he started to put that mantra out to his team, and you can put anything out to a bunch of people, but until they actually understand what it is, and until they actually buy into what you're stating, and what that ultimately means, you don't really know, and you can't really define the word. And over the course of the time, it was unfortunate. Doc Rivers, his father passed, and so he left the team, and one of the assistants took over. And during that time, he was away from the team for a day or two, and they went out. The Celtics went out that night, and they were down by 20 points. They battled back and they won. And the very first thing that they did was Kevin Garnett called Doc Rivers, and he said, Ubuntu, we got you. And, I thought about that. I was like, man, that is really something, how that resonated with a team. And it brought, a great team.
Those are professional athletes. These aren't just, obviously the kids in the school. So
Absolutely. So, when you can get someone to buy in to each other, the magic that you can make, the rapport that can be built, the greatness for a community, for a team, and for these student athletes' futures is extensive, and it's endless. And so we sat and we talked about this Ubuntu message and philosophy with the kids, and I talked to Troy, I talked to Sean right afterward, and they said that was a powerful philosophy, and that everything that we do needs to be embedded in that. What would you guys, Sean?
I mean, I definitely agree. I mean, one thing our kids do is they look to their buddies for inspiration. They do look to their coaching staff for leadership. So I think it's definitely a good mantra to have for them moving forward, because luckily Coach Troy and myself have the luxury of being able to work with the kids all day long as we work in the schools. So I mean, they know we have them all day long. We have their backs. They know they can come to us with any kind of situation, any kind of problem, and we'll go to bat for them. So I think it's a great thing for them to start believing in.
Yeah, and to go to that point, I think, and you spoke about like professional athletes and students, and I think one thing that we can all say is that students, whether they go the right path or the wrong path, something that they commonly do is follow somebody else within their age group, right? And when you get a collective unit to start thinking and believing in themselves and their brotherhood and their common goal for each other, and worry about just getting them right as one another, and that's a powerful message, and it's a powerful movement as well.
So talk a little bit about, you talked about the philosophical aspect of getting these guys molding at a team. Talk about the philosophical aspect of getting them in the X and O's, working on a game plan, and how you guys devise that as a coaching staff, and then disseminate it to the players so that they know what they're doing out on the field on every Friday night.
Absolutely. So, first and foremost, the coaching staff that we have been able to assemble, I couldn't ask for a better staff. They work 24 hours around the clock. They're constantly working for the betterment and the enrichment of our student athletes, and they're working, although sometimes on my nerves, but they're always working to make every one of our coaches better. So whether it's, hey, I don't think that this would work, and these two go back and forth, on a whiteboard, hey, I think that if we line up this way, I think that I'll gas you over here, and oh no, you wouldn't, because I would fill with the C gap, and this is how we would do it, and that's what you need. That is the culture within a culture that you need in order to get better. You need that competition, and you need that love for one another, and you need the love for what you're doing. And so that's, I'm fortunate because with the staff that I have, the love that they have for the game, the love that they have for the kids exudes out of them. So it doesn't have to be a forced thing for us to show them, hey, this is the X's and O's of our defense schematically. This is what we're going to do offensively, because they see the love that these guys have for the game, and therefore they're willing to be sponges. So it makes our job really, really easy. Now, when I came to Reading 2-3 years ago, I came from a Division II college program where I was fortunate enough to coach and be around a high level of interaction of X and O's. And so I said, hey, you know what? We want to bring that type of philosophy to the high school game. And a lot of people looked at me and said, hey, that's too complicated for them. It's not going to work. I said, you know what? Give these student athletes a chance. You don't know what's going to be complicated for them because you didn't press them enough to find out. I believe that, yes, we may have 10 different words in our offense, to get in one play, but guess what? We can change one single word, and it can be a completely different play. And you know what? Sure, lo and behold, how quickly did they pick it up? Yeah. It was not a problem, offensively, defensively, and we changed everything. So we knew, when we came in our first year, to the outside, it would look like we struggled. But we got so much better, from the time that we took over and the time that we had them lined up, with, what I call an open, set for offensively, and, moving into a 4-2-5 defense. I mean, these are things that, that colleges sometimes struggle with. And we're asking, 14, 15, 16-year-old kids to execute, but I tell you what, they are, those student athletes, all they do is give their best effort, and that's all we can ask from them.
All right, we're going to change courses again a little bit and kind of go back and ask you guys, what are your goals for each season for the program?
Okay, well, I tell you, before I answer that, I mean, I'll turn it over to Coach, and he can tell you what he's going to, what our goals are defensively, and then he'll let you know what our goals are offensively, and then I'll kind of put it together, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Go ahead, Coach.
I mean, first and foremost, our goal number one is to play. So hopefully, all this clears up in the springtime, and we can get out in the field. Tired of sitting around watching other teams play right now. But offensively, we're going to be, like Coach said, we're going to be an open set spread team. We're going to. I know a lot of offensive guys like to dictate the pace of the game. I'm going to let the defense dictate our pace of the game. I want them to come out and show their hand first. Then we'll be able to make adjustments where we want to run based off of what they're showing us. Now, again, granted, I know we're going to see a lot of disguise coverages and stuff like that. It's a simple math game. How many guys are in the box? Is it favorable for us to run? Is it favorable for us to pass? I mean, it's simple math. You don't got to get too hard because anybody can figure it out. We're going to be, some inside zone and some stuff like that. Very easy for our kids to pick up, but something that we can run from the youth level on up through. And it's something that, we can go under center, we can stay in shotgun. Something that they can get taught when they're 7, 8 years old. It's going to be the exact same thing when they're 17, 18 years old. And I think that's one of the things that we're going to do a better job of putting together in our youth program. So when the kids come up to us, they know what we're talking about. We're going to throw the football a lot. We're going to run the football a lot. We're going to be tough to defend. We're going to do stuff out of multiple sets, a lot of motions, a lot of misdirection, stuff like that. We're going to take a little bit of our local eye missings, wing tee and their motions and stuff like that, and we're going to try to incorporate some of that stuff to our spread game and just get defenses thinking.
Our goal defensively, honestly, is just to get better every day, and not just challenge our guys. There might be certain circumstances where we shoot for different goals throughout the season. Of course, we have our specific game goals, but my goals and my challenge to our kids is just get better every single day, no matter what it is. Especially playing on the defensive side of the ball, you have to be aggressive. And the only way you can be aggressive is if you know what you're doing. And I challenge our guys to be aggressive. And that doesn't mean just physically being aggressive. It means like being aggressive in your role, right? And role and what you have to do. And you have to single-handedly take responsibility to be aggressive in everything that you do. Because in life, you have to attack things. So like as on the defensive side of the ball, we just really challenge our kids. And like Coach said, when we first got here, people said, you can't run that defense. Yeah, well, I mean, it was a challenge. It was a real challenge for us. But we went from the third last defense in the county to the third best defense in the county in 1 year. And that's because our kids were challenged and they accepted it. Like right at high kids love challenges. And they're going to accept it and they're going to take after it. And they're going to dig in the playbook. They're going to take in our challenges, okay? And they're going to be aggressive in their approach to everyday life. And that's what we want. We want what we do on the football field to carry on into their everyday life. And if you're going to be aggressive on the football field, when you graduate and you get into college and you go into the real world, you're going to be aggressive in what you do. So we're an aggressive style defense.
And just to kind of tie that in, from an offensive perspective, defensive perspective, we look to go 1-0 for the day. That is our mantra. That is our accomplishment that we set out for each and every single student athlete. You go 1-0 for the day. And, after practice, whether we're at practice, in the weight room, on the track, okay, in the classroom, you go 1-0 for the day, okay? And we ask them to write it down at the end of the day. Did you go 1-0? Did you give your all for everything you did? And if you can actually look yourself in the mirror and say, yes, you put down 1-0 and you build from there. And tomorrow you start at 0-0 and you go to 1-0 that day.
We're getting to 1-0, every day, is one part of it. But there's a whole function that's really kind of transcended football over the last few years, and that's all the data, all the electronics that's available to you guys as a coach. I mean, you're doing it now in virtually running your team, since you can't be together basically. So talk a little bit about how the analytics that basically you've got to utilize to keep up with the Joneses is just changing the way that you guys coach.
It's funny. I never saw myself as as any kind of tech savvy person at all. But you learn fast, right? You learn fast when you have to, and again, I can't emphasize enough the type of staff that we have put together here, because where one person needs a little bit of help, another coach is willing to fill in and help out. And we even get the kids to come in, hey, coach, you got to do this X, Y, or Z, in order to get.
Well, don't you have to fit it too? You're trying to, even with all this, fit it on into their tech savvy level. Like, what technology are the kids? Mm-hmm. When you talk about family and connecting or whatever like that, a lot of that here is like technology and incorporating your analytics into their technology, right?
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. Because you have to make things easy and convenient for them. And so you hit it spot on with that, and so between text messages, emails, Zoom calls, Duo calls, going on, into G Suite on Google, and doing all these things. I mean, we have tried. We've been away from our student athletes since July 17th. It's been a very, very long time. Most, even though it came out and we were shut. The state was shut down for a time frame. A couple weeks later, we haven't been with our kids since July 17th. So we had to come up with something. So they have workouts. They have team meetings. They have interactions that they're doing. In a social distancing way. But a lot of that is done through some kind of technology that I have no idea about, but I'm sure the coaches, whether it's these coaches or some of our other great ones, they're helping us get that along, and the kids are they're responding. They're responding. We can go on any of our calls any night. Okay, and we're still getting 40, 45 kids to show up. That says a lot about those kids, and it says a lot about their mentality. It talks about their buy-in to the Ubuntu, to our family. Forget about me, I love you, because they could be doing anything. Mm-hmm. They could be doing absolutely anything, but instead they're choosing to be there for their teammates, and I think that's huge.
All right, Coach, are you the type of head coach that coaches up your coaching staff, or are you more hands-on with practice and instructing the kids, or is it a combination of both?
Well, I think that you got to be a combination of both. I mean,
yeah.
I would say when I first arrived, Coach Troy, you might say I was a bit more of a micromanager.
Yeah.
Because I wanted everything to be very, very specific and particular. But I think that also goes along with trust, right? So you are able to back off and to let others showcase their talents when you build a level of trust with them as well. And I think that, that's one thing, again, I don't know, March of 2018, I didn't know this guy from Joe Schmo walking down the street. And, within 60 days, him and I had a great rapport where, we were talking on the phone every day when we weren't there, when we weren't together. When Coach Gaul came on, a couple months ago, I don't remember the exact date, but, from that day going forward, I mean, we're calling each other just to, talk about the weather, talk about, issues outside of football, which again builds rapport. So, I try to, let them do what's best for the team because I have trust in what they're doing. I would like, my overall philosophy obviously pushed. And, we have, our offense is based and predicated on, what we would like to do. But again, we also need to base that around our student athletes, not necessarily just, hey, this is what I want. We don't do it that way. And then same thing defensively, but I entrust, them to do what they're doing. And I know that they'll do a great job with it. What would you
Listen,
guys?
I think coach is being a little modest. There was a couple times in the summertime I watched him get down a defensive end stance. So he's great energy. The kids feed off of him, and I think they look to that. Our kids are they're jokesters. They like to do a lot of jaw jabbing. So when they jaw jab one of us and we step up to the plate, I think that's when the tables turn a little bit. So, coach is very hands-on. I know
I've
the kids
seen him at a few practices.
Yeah, a little wide-eyed when he got that 3-point stance. So don't let him fool you with that one.
Well, I don't know if my knees can hold up for too many more 3-point stances. Yeah.
How are you trying to, you said you came from a, Division II coaching level. So how are you trying to prepare your guys to get to the next level? To be a college athlete. Is that something that's in the back of your mind with each and every one of your guys?
Yes.
Or are there ones that you're just picking, that show talent? How do you do that?
Well, I heard you were gonna.
Yeah, I think you have to keep your expectations high, and I think our students respect that. When you believe in that they can do better, or you believe in that they can be great, and you don't try to downplay things, you set your expectations high for them. They do their best to reach that level, and a lot of times they succeed. And just keeping that expectation for them helps them grow to be ready for that level. Not every kid is going to be a Division I football player. Not every kid is going to be a Division II football player. But if you keep that same expectation, no matter if it's a kid that's going to play Division I or if it's a kid that's going to be on a scout team most of the time in his high school career, your team respects that. And I think they grow from that too. Because when you set that expectation on the football field, when that expectation in the weight room, in the classroom, and that high standard, hey, this is what we expect from you, and because I know you can achieve greatness, their level just seems to rise.
Well, that's the life lesson of football, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's one of the big life lessons of football, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would just piggyback on that and say, for me, it's not about getting them, the scholarship to Division I. It's first about building the young man. If you're able to build the young man to become, a servant of his family and of his community, everything else will fall in line, right? Because he will learn how to be a leader. He will learn how to be constructive. He will learn how to take control. He will learn, how to provide for his family. He will learn, how to be a brother, how to be, just like we talk about leaders, you have to be a servant as well, so you have to learn how to be a great follower too. And so when we talk about those things and when we teach those kinds of things from a philosophical perspective, that's how you create, those diamond in the roughs. You create those by building character within the young men.
And I think that's how you build support of the community too. Because if they show, if the community can see that you're having positive effects on the kids, and especially at Reading High, I think that's enormously important. You talked about the gritters and whatever like that, and the support group. The one thing that I can personally say, and I'm not a Reading High guy, but I can tell you that, all of your support groups, are working hard, for all of your athletes, and the coaching staff with those support groups are gonna, help, make it a positive influence on the community, which is really, I think, the overall goal of what high school football is. It's a community game, and see, that's my philosophical stuff here too. We were talking about the coach's philosophy, but that's where it all kind of melds together. in a cohesive thing. And that's really what Pennsylvania football is all about is you said family, but then community as well, and support and everything else, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Now, Coach, you kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but I wanted to get in a little more detail about, when you mold your team, is it all about your system or your philosophy, or are you able to adapt and kind of change your system or philosophy based on the personnel of your team?
Absolutely. So, and it goes back to personnel. You have to integrate, an overall way of doing things from a schematic perspective based off of the student athletes that you have. Case in point, our first 2 years we had a drop back passer, and Brandon, who I love dearly, and I believe that he's going to do extremely well, at the college that he picked. He's going to be playing, football there, which we're very proud of. For Coach Etsy, who is a great coach, down at Stevens Tech. But now we're moving on. We have sophomore Amir, and Amir Burdine and Darnell Fontanez who are battling it out, and they're more of a hybrid of running and athleticism, but they can still throw. And so we have to mold our offense to fit, what they do best.
Okay, that kind of answers the next question there. How flexible is your system, based on if you were going to change things a little bit based on your personnel?
Absolutely, and kind of going back to one of the questions that you guys asked earlier, we may say, 8 words, but again, with just the change of one word, it completely changes the dynamic of the, of the play. And so now it went from, a play that may work, better for a Brandon type guy, to now we're better for, a Darnell or an Amir type guy.
Yeah, really interesting. And, this is really the first of a 3-part series, right? I mean,
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about the next 2 parts that are going to be coming up in the following weeks, Coach.
Yeah, absolutely. So next week, we'll have the entire varsity staff here, and we'll be talking about what we've done over the course of COVID in order to continue to keep our student athletes engaged. What we're doing to continue to build our program from within, and ultimately how we are servicing our community, because that is, that has to be the epistone and the cornerstone of everything that we're doing, is about ensuring that we are bridging the gap between, families and athletics, so we can kind of bring that together. And then finally, we're going to wrap up the series with, our youth group. So we're actually going to have the leaders of our youth organization, as well as our junior high coaches, and we'll be talking about transitioning, the feeder system, ultimately the youth organization, through our entire program, and how we're doing that, the mentality, and how we're looking to continue to not just build numbers, okay, but build young men.
Well, that's good. I mean, this is going to be a lot of fun. I mean, first off, I get a chance to see you guys again, because we all have, been obviously isolated or whatever like that. And that's so much for me a part of, football here, is getting together with everybody and talking football. And, Wayde or whatever like that, we've, gotten a lot closer here over the last few months or whatever like that. So really enjoy that. So why don't you take us out, Coach?
I'm sorry?
Why don't you take us out?
Oh, well, I tell you, again, I appreciate everyone's time today. I know that, everyone has busy schedules. There's a lot going on. But again, it was great to sit down with you guys and just kind of talk about philosophy, make sure that, my coaches are still on board with what we're doing here. And it's, it's great to get to see these guys, and it's great to kind of sit down and really talk about some of those things, because sometimes you miss, you forget about your purpose and your premise for doing things. And now, we're sitting down and just kind of talking about that, and it actually kind of stirs and fires me up again to kind of get back out there and really get reacclimated with our students here. So again, thank you guys so much. We truly do appreciate everything that you're doing for the community and for the larger state, and we'll definitely be listening in on the Mr. PA football podcast.
Yeah, well, last year, we decided to possibly look into doing a podcast, but it was basically geared towards our Mr. PA football voting. So it was this, we released our voting live as a finalist and our semifinalist. So it was just kind of more of a recap and a little bit more detailed information about the kids that were finalists. And then this year we kind of took it to a next level, had some ideas about really getting the podcast out here this fall. And we've had 3 episodes so far, which basically was we focused on the top recruits in Pennsylvania and where they're possibly going to commit to or verbal or play at the next level. Now we're kind of getting into the coaching portion of it, and we had James Franklin as our guest today.
Oh, that's awesome.
Nice.
That's
Wow.
awesome. Absolutely.
Wow. Well, where can we hear the podcast? I mean, where can we find it?
Well, you can find it. We use a platform called Anchor, and then we have it on Apple Play, Google Play, Spotify, and I think there's another one I'm forgetting. But we'll have it uploaded, and we'll have it all across our social media platforms.
Okay, awesome. And Bruce, I know that we can listen to you every Friday night.
Yeah, actually, I'm not sure when this is going to air, but doing the Mifflin Mechanicsburg game this Friday, and we'll see how far that goes with Mifflin. I'm pretty sure that if they move on, we'll be doing the district title game, and then it just kind of goes to covering games for EasternPAFootball.com. I know that I'll be out on the field in Hershey again this year, which is a great thrill for me. I mean, I can't tell you how much fun I had, and then we'll get into basketball and whatever. So hopefully we'll be doing some Reading High games or whatever like that. I mean, fingers crossed.
Right.
We'll be doing some basketball as well, but overall, I'm really anxious to see how this turns out, and then see how the next 2 programs turn out. And I'm really interested to hear, Wayde with Coach Franklin. That's why I was asking, where we can find it, just to make sure that I can find it and listen to the interview. That's for sure.
Absolutely. I'll be tuning in, and plus, checking you out on your Twitter account. What's your Twitter handles?
Oh, he's Mr. PA Football. I mean, and I'm at Badgley Bruce.
Okay.
Yeah, so hopefully we can get that out here tonight. I mean, we got delayed a little bit, and we had to do this program tonight, so hopefully we can get it out sometime this evening.
Okay, awesome.
So you're holding up James Franklin there, Coach.
Hopefully in the next few years we'll be sending some players his way. So there we go.
What you want to see is James Franklin on the sideline down at Shirk Stadium. That's what you want.
Just give it some time. I think that we got some good ones in the program.
Okay, good.
Thank you so much.